And welcome on into Claibs Online. It is the American League Central Roundtable here today, presented by the home loan expert Ryan Kelley at thehomeloanexpert.com. I am Joe Roderick, one of your hosts for today, as we'll spend the next 30-45 minutes taking you around the American League Central and looking at the Cardinals' other opponents this season outside of those from their own division. Before we introduce our panel, we need to introduce the co-host and star of Claibs Online. He is Mike Claiborne. Claibs, what's going on? Another day of baseball talk.
And one more day closer to opening day, the start of a season I wasn't sure if we were ever going to have. And Joe, I'm excited today because we're going to talk to people from the American League Central. By the way, we're not only going to see him this year, we're also going to see him in 2021. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of things to talk about today. So we'll get everything started with Lavelle Neal III. He covers the Minnesota Twins for the Star Tribune in Minneapolis. Also, former Indian Jensen Lewis from Sports Time, Ohio. He is involved with the Cleveland Indians broadcast team. Darren Jackson, former major leaguer, and he's been with the White Sox broadcast for a number of years. He even used to work with my buddy John Rooney in Chicago with the White Sox. He's going to join us this afternoon as well. Our old buddy Joe Goldberg, who had some roots here in St. Louis many, many years ago. You now see him on Fox Sports Midwest in Kansas City. He's representing the Royals today. And World Series champion Jim Price of the Detroit Tigers. He's been with the Tigers for a number of years on the Tigers Radio Network. And gentlemen, it's great to have a chance to visit with all of you all. I didn't know we were ever going to have a season, but it looks like we're going to get one going starting tonight with the 2 games on the schedule. But the games that we are going to see each other in are going to even be more important. So my first question to you is this. We've been off for a while. So I want to know how many of you guys are in planning weight for your broadcast season. I'll start off with you, Lavelle.
Well, I point out we did go to Florida for a few weeks before everything got shut down. So we were heated up. We just had to dial it back to simmer, So we just had to warm up again. I don't think we're going to be that rusty coming out of the box. I'm more worried about the hitters' swings being a little rusty after just like a couple weeks of summer camp games. But I'm ready to throw some fastballs. I don't know about you, but I'm gonna be looking to do some down try out of the box here.
All right, Joel Goldberg, are you at your playing weight right now, or did you put on a few since we had the shutdown?
It's like that freshman 15. It's the pandemic pounds, and so, I was tracking really well. I was getting to my broadcast weight into March, and then the pandemic hit, and so now you know what I think. Like all these, first off, it's great to see all these faces on here because these are all the guys. I see Lavelle in the press box every time we go to Target, and all the rest of these guys, including, unfortunately, Jensen. Just kidding, buddy. We live around each other all year long. I could look over and see Jim Price and know I'm going to get that greeting every time that I go to Detroit or he comes to Kansas City. And all these guys on here are guests on our show. And so I know from a professional standpoint, we're all missing that interaction, of seeing a DJ in the hall. I also know, and I'm getting off topic, which Claibs, I could do very easily, that, both DJ and Jim Price lost very important members of their lives and their families with their organizations that, I wish there were fans in the stands to honor those men. And so this is just so different.
DJ, what about you? How are you playing yourself into shape for the season? Now, you being a former player, you know your body as well as anyone. So are you ready to go as far as your weight's concerned? Because a lot of guys we may not recognize when the season starts because they may have put on too much.
Well, Claibs, the big thing for me during this time off is that I made sure to stay active and busy because the assumption was eventually I was going to have to come on a show like this, and I didn't want to look like
Well, hey, Jensen.
Figured it better show up in shape. You never know if Claib's going to say you've been working out. So here I am today in the best shape of my life.
Good for you. What about you, Jensen? You all ready to go? Have you stayed in shape after we shut everything down?
I might be one of the few people that actually lost weight. I'm down back to where my old playing weight was. So With this new 3-batter minimum, I was going to give Joel a little bit of a hard time. I mean, my numbers against Kansas City were pretty decent. Chicago, DJ, always a place I love to lose a little bit of sleep, get on the field and collect a couple outs. But, up to Lavelle at Target, that's one place I got to play against my childhood idol and Jim Thome. He hit one that still hasn't landed yet. It's in one of the 10,000 lakes. So glad I don't have to pitch there anymore. But, yeah, I'll echo what everyone's kind of said here. It's great to be back finally on the doorstep of opening day. And, again, this sprint is going to be unlike anything we've ever seen. 60 games is usually where you try and figure out what your team is good at, what your team is struggling with. Now you're going to have to figure that out, and maybe 15 to 20 games, make some quick decisions with this trade deadline coming up in 4 weeks. A lot of narratives and a lot of storylines we're going to be able to follow this year.
Jim Price, I introduced you as the World Series champion, 1968 Tigers, and Mike Shannon and Tim McCarver are still pissed off about.
Yes, they are, and I love it.
How did you stay in shape and stay ready to go?
Let me tell you this. I lost more weight than anybody. I lost 40 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm 220. I was 260 at one time, but because of health issues that have cleared up, I'm down to 220. I look skinny. Nothing fits me anymore, and it's a great feeling. And when you're healthy, and you feel strong, you mentally, I'm a little messed up, like all of us are, but that played the game especially. But physically, man, I'm ready to go. I really am. And we broadcast one preseason game. It's like riding a bicycle. Everybody knows that. Once the bell rings, you just go, man. You just go and do it. And I'm looking forward to this season.
Gentlemen, we are going to be playing each other quite a bit. And when you talk about baseball, you look at the Central Division in both the National and American League, a lot of good young players there. So I'll ask you, DJ, tell me about your ball club. And I want to start with you because everybody's excited about what's going on in Chicago. You guys made a fire sale a few years ago, and some of those young players have started to develop. So what do you like about your ball club now from what you saw in the spring to where you see them at now?
I think what I've seen from this team, 3 games we've had in this preseason, is that the young players like the Lewis Roberts and the Eloy Jimenez's, they are going ahead and taking the advice from the veterans. They're using it to their advantage, which is the key in a short season like this. You don't have time to go out there and fail out of the gate if you're a young, talented player. So heed the advice of these veterans. And that's what I've been seeing. And we're seeing results. 2 games against the Cubs we just had. These guys look like superstars, like they've been veterans in the game quite some time. We know Jimenez last year hit 31 home runs for us. Luis Robert has a 6-year guaranteed contract. Never played a day in the big leagues, but he is a 5-tool superstar just waiting to happen. So what I've seen so far in just this little bit of time, Mike, is that we've got a team that really knows how to blend together well. They bond well, they listen to each other, and they're going to play off of each other. Big addition to this White Sox pitching staff is Yasmani Grandal, the catcher behind the plate. And what I have seen has really instilled some confidence in every single pitcher on this staff to this point. Not that James McCann, who was with us last year, didn't do the same thing, but that's the key. Can you transition, have 2 catchers that can command a strike zone for your pitchers? And these both these catchers can do that. And it really comes down to a couple of things, as you well know. You got to pitch it, you got to catch it. If you don't pitch it and you don't catch it, you're going to give up runs that are unnecessary. You're going to lose a lot of close games. Right now, I think we're at a stage where we're going to pitch it extremely well. We're going to have well-called ball games. But we definitely have to prove in the catching it part. Last year, we're toward the bottom of the American League fielding. You Cardinals, you guys know how to pitch it and catch it. You don't have to score as many runs that way. But we are going to be a team this year, Klebs, that scores a lot more runs because of 2 things. We're going to have a better on-base percentage as a club. And because of that, that means the guys that have been getting on are going to score more because we have better hitters in our lineup. So pitching, fielding, timely hitting, we need all those things to click together. But I think we got the potential to do that.
Jensen, I know everybody talks about Francisco Lindor, but there's some other good players on that ball club, especially the fact you have a good manager as well in Tito Francona. What do you like about your ball club and from when you saw them in the spring to where they're at now?
Claves, there was a team that benefited the most, from this layoff. I think you could argue it was the Indians, because if we would have broken camp and started on time this year, likely Mike Clevenger and Carlos Carrasco, 2 huge pieces of this rotation were probably going to miss at least 1 or 2 starts. And it seems to be the theme for the Indians the last 3 to 4 years. Some of their stars have not been ready to go due to injury right out of the chute. Now, you look at where things stand for tomorrow and beyond. It's the first time, I would say, probably since 2015, 2016, that this club has had everyone healthy, ready to go from day one. So that benefits, I think, the Indians in a short season, as we'll see. If you're looking at the Indians from afar, we know they're going to be able to pitch. You have Shane Bieber, the All-Star Game MVP from last year. He's actually gotten better this offseason and throughout this layoff. I think you're going to see his changeup featured a lot more this year. We already know he's got a really premium breaking ball, and his fastball command is fabulous. It's the bottom of this rotation with the trade of Corey Kluber that is really going to get personified. I think Aaron Savale is going to become a name that a lot of people will recognize throughout not only the Central, but as we get into the interleague setup. He's got a really good cut fastball. He has Kluber-esque tendencies with his command of all 3 pitches. And then Zach Plesac, who literally pitched himself into the number 5 spot throughout camp and then also in summer camp here the last couple of weeks. The Indians' depth at the rotation has always been their key, but it's going to be the top of the lineup that's going to change drastically this year with, as you said, Francisco Lindor now sliding from the leadoff spot back to that 3 hole with Cesar Hernandez coming in, replacing Jason Kipnis. He's now your leadoff guy, and Cardinal fans will remember this name, Oscar Mercado. He was hitting second for us last year, really burst onto the scene. He's going to actually go down to the 9 spot and be that second leadoff hitter because Jose Ramirez now is going to hit in that 2 spot. Carlos Santana will be number 4, and then Franmil Reyes will be 5. So you could argue the Indians, those top 4 to 5 guys, those top 4 are all switch hitters. And with Reyes, that's as good a top 5 as you're going to find in the American League. So the Indians are really going all in on trying to get that early lead for the starting rotation and then allow those starters to carry them deep into the game.
Joel Goldberg, we had a chance to watch the Kansas City Royals this week, and man, they've got a lot of good young talent. My concern would be their pitching. From where you sit, what do you like about your ball club, and what improvements have you seen with Mike Matheny from spring training to now?
Yeah, it's interesting because we haven't had a new manager since 2010. That's not something you heard a lot over the years with the Royals, who seem to change managers every 2 to 3 years. But Ned Yost had been here taking over for Trey Hillman in 2010. So Mike Matheny hit the ground running, really made a huge impression on his players. They've raved about him. And I sense that he has taken whatever did not go right in St. Louis, learned from that, and really implemented that in terms of his communication and certainly with the media. Guys have fed off of his energy. They said that during spring camp. They've said that during summer camp. But you hit it in terms of the pitching, Claves. If you look at the Royals, for a team that lost 100 games last year, and everybody, here in the boxes that's on this call saw it in all the different American League Central cities. You have Whit Merrifield, who every team in baseball would want and plug him in wherever you want to plug him in. Only the second hitter in Major League Baseball history from the right side to lead the league in back-to-back seasons in hits. The other was Kirby Puckett. So Whit Merrifield is a star, even though people may not view him as a star. Jorge Soler led the American League in home runs as a Kansas City Royal. I mean, that's really hard to do. Adalberto Mondesi, if he could stay healthy, and that's been an issue, is hands down the most talented and skilled player in terms of all the tools that I've seen here in Kansas City in 3 years. And they get Salvador Perez back. He had COVID right before the season was going to start or around summer camp. He's back and healthy and looks like he never missed a beat after missing all of last year with Tommy John. He's crushing home runs and looks great. Hunter Dozier just tested positive. He was going to be their starting right fielder. Pitching's the issue, as you mentioned it. They've got to be able to throw strikes. Haven't seen too much of that yet. What's really interesting, I texted Jensen about this yesterday, is that they're saying the heck with service time and all of that. They're taking their top draft pick from 2018, Brady Singer, 18th overall out of the University of Florida, and they're starting him. He's going to make his Major League debut in Cleveland on Saturday in Game 2.
As Claves is having audio issues, we'll throw it to Jim Price. Oh, you're back? All right.
It's this little button that says mute and unmute. I got to start paying close attention to that. Hey, Jim Price, the Tigers were a team that's had some down seasons here recently. You made some changes with your manager. You got some good young draft choices, some good prospects that are starting to get some playing time. What do you like about this ball club from when you saw them in the spring to where they're at now?
Well, you're going to see a different ball club. They're going to play the game the right way. The last couple of years, like I said earlier, was kind of a circus, and I got tired of saying, they missed a cutoff man, he hit the infield, or it was just a bunch of clowns out there playing. Got rid of a lot of those guys, brought in some other players, which they needed to do. But we have one of the best managers in baseball, in Rod Gardenhire, and he really has done a great job. Fundamentals, number one with him. They've been working hard on those, but the addition of some of the players, Shoup and Crone, that they brought in, shores up that infield really good on the right side, and they've got some really good young talent. Listen, the Central Division is going to be tough. It's a great division, no question about it. But you're going to see a different ball club. Everybody has a chance to win it, but the Tigers right now are looking at, hey, we could be a force in this division, and I think they can be. And I'm excited about it because they're going to play the game the way the game is supposed to be played. And with the way the game has changed, where it's home runs, there's no bunting, there's no stealing. It's all about home runs. The ball's juice. The bats are like marbles. The stadiums are small. I mean, it's a hitter's ear right now. So if you're pitching, I think DJ mentioned it earlier, if you can pitch and catch the ball, you're going to win. And the Tigers are going to improve in pitching and also in defense. And I think that's going to make a big difference. But Gardy and the coaching staff have worked overtime to get this team ready to go. And with Miguel Cabrera looking slim for Miggy, he looks slim for Miggy. He looks good. He really does. We just got to, and during the season, though, everybody puts on weight. So we're going to have to keep close tabs on him. But, he's going to be a force as always in that third spot. But there is some talent. And as bad as we've been the last few years, we've had great drafts. And this draft this year was one of the best. And we have some kids that are going to be on the fast track. And we have some of the best young arms in baseball that aren't going to be in the club to start out, like Casey Mize, a kid by the name of Green, who's an outfielder who is going to be a star. These kids are on the horizon, but how soon we're going to see them, we don't know. But I think this team this year is going to be fun to watch because you're going to play Chicago, Cleveland, and Minnesota. Are you kidding me? Of course, Kansas City is going to be good too. Every team's going to be tough, and it'll be an interesting year. I'm looking forward to it.
Lavelle, I saved you for last because the last thing you guys needed was another bat in your lineup, and you went out and got Josh Donaldson in the offseason. I mean, you guys put on a display unlike anything we've ever seen. So what's going to be different about this ball club from the spring to where you see them at now?
One of the things the Twins wanted to do going into the offseason was to bring in an impact starting pitcher. So Josh Donaldson, I guess, meets that request. No, I'm just kidding. They tried to go after Zach Wheeler, and they made a strong offer to Wheeler, and Wheeler signed with the Phillies, I believe, and they went another direction with the rotation. They swung a deal for Kenta Maeda, who's a quality starter from the Dodgers. They signed Rich Hill as a free agent, and Rich Hill's going to be ready right at the beginning. If you want to talk about people who benefited from the shutdown, is Rich Hill, because he had the primary repair procedure late last season, right after the season, and he was scheduled to be ready in late July. And now he gets to impact the Twins rotation from the beginning. And Rich, even though he's headed toward 40 years old, is a savvy veteran who knows how to work hitters. And he has been like having an extra pitching coach for Wes Johnson, kind of mentoring some of the younger pitchers and monitoring bullpen sessions. And then also, they took a flyer out on Homer Bailey, right-hander who's had success before in his career, but also had surgery. The thing is, the Twins rotation doesn't have that impact starter at the top of it, but they're a little deeper because of the veteran arms they brought in. And I haven't even mentioned Michael Pineda, who will be on board after he serves the final 36 games of his suspension for failing a drug test. And at the time he was suspended last season, Pineda was their most effective starter. So the Twins are liking what they have in the start rotation, even though they didn't add a big-time arm during the offseason. And that's important because the offense is definitely going to be there. They let Scope and Crone walk to Detroit during the offseason, and they still look as formidable as ever. And adding Josh Donaldson, the 2015 American League MVP, was a major move. And Donaldson brings fire, he brings intensity, He brings, I don't know, a give a damn attitude to that lineup. And that's something the Twins did not have. And I'm not saying that it was a trait that they needed, but it's definitely not going to hurt to have someone like Donaldson around, because the Twins have not gotten out of the first round of the postseason since 2002. And I think they're tired of losing to the Yankees every year in the first round of the playoffs. So maybe Donaldson could be the guy that pushes them over the top. As for the rest of the lineup, all eyes are on Byron Buxton right now, who was coming back from shoulder surgery. So the shutdown helped him. But then he suffered a mid-foot sprain a couple weeks ago. And he's actually, I think he's driving to Chicago as we speak to join the team. And he's going to have a fitness test here. And he could be in the opening day lineup, or they may wait a couple of days to debut him. But when Buxton's in the lineup, they play like 630 ball, and without him, it's still 571. But Buxton has that type of impact on the lineup with his speed and his defense. You got Eddie Rosario was considered like the worst regular on the roster last year, and he hit 32 homers and drove in 109 RBI. It's been crazy to see. And Donaldson, playing third base, has more range to his left than Miguel Sano did. That's allowing Jorge Polanco to play more to his left, which is increasing the range ability of the left side of the infield. And Miguel Sano has been serious about adapting to first base. He made a couple nice plays yesterday in the exhibition game against the Cubs. And his swing is still a work in progress because he's coming back from the COVID virus, but he believes that his swing is going to be ready for opening day. So this lineup is deep, and it has the ability to ride through a couple players having slumps. They've worked on the defense a little bit on the infield, and the start rotation is deeper, and the bullpen. Rob Peck, KG veteran Sergio Romo, who throws those frisbees up there, the frisbee slider he likes to throw, and they added Tyler Clippard, who's kind of a reverse split guy. He's more effective. He's kind of effective against lefties as well as righties. So this may be the best Twins roster in club history, and now I'm talking about also the mid 1960s teams with Harmon Killebrew and Bob Allison and Antonio Oliva and those guys. And so they're looking to make a run in the postseason, but they know that the division is not going to be handed to them because Cleveland beat the Twins 10-9 in the season series last year, and they got a strong pitching staff. And the White Sox are tired of losing. I think it's 7 straight losing seasons they're trying to get rid of too. So this is going to be a fun division this year because people are not afraid to come after the Twins.
You are watching the American League Central Roundtable here on Claibs Online, claibsonline.com, presented by Ryan Kelley, the home loan expert. Find him online at thehomeloanexpert.com. We're also powered by Ameren, Illinois, driven by Munganess St. Louis Acura. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, more with our panel of guests here from the American League Central on claibsonline.com.
Jimmy, what are you doing?
Hey, Danny, I'm celebrating. Baseball's back and mortgage rates are in the twos.
That means you have to go to Ryan Kelley, thehomeloanexpert.com.
From early mornings to late nights, behind the scenes and on the front lines, your neighbors are busy creating a better tomorrow. And we're accelerating progress. From upgrading natural gas mains in Quincy to expanding substation capacity in Mount Vernon, reliable power communities can depend on. Ameren, Illinois, energy at work.
And welcome back in. It is another roundtable here on opening week presented by Ryan Kelley, the home loan expert, and thehomeloanexpert.com, right here on claibsonline.com. We're talking to the American League Central panel today, getting you ready for the other Cardinal opponents that you will see in the 2020 season. And as I bring back in our panel of guests along with Mike Claiborne, Claibs, let you reintroduce the folks that we have joining us here today.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. Well, we'll start off in the leadoff spot, Lavelle Neal III. He covers the Minnesota Twins for the Star Tribune. Former Indian Jensen Lewis is with the Cleveland Indians broadcast team. And, of course, my good buddy Darren Jackson. He's been an analyst with the Chicago White Sox for a number of years, and you can listen to him on their radio broadcast. Joel Goldberg, our old buddy from Kansas City, represents the Kansas City Royals. And, of course, Jim Price of the Detroit Tigers will certainly be able to tell us all we need to know about the Detroit Tigers, as they are a team that's going to make a comeback here soon. I hope it's within 2 or 3 years after we get done playing them. But in any event, we're going to be playing them this year and certainly next year. Joe?
Yeah, you mentioned we're going to be seeing these guys the next 2 years. And Jensen, I'll start with you for this second round of questions, because we know the names like the Francisco Lindors, but for Cardinal fans, for other fans in the National League Central, give me a name of somebody on that Indians roster who we might not know about yet, who we're going to really get to know these next 2 years.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think the guy you point to is right in the middle of the lineup in Franmil Reyes. The Indians have been looking for some big-time right-handed power. They've had San Diego as a trade partner in the last couple of years, being able to acquire Brad Hand, who is their current closer, and Adam Simber, who has pitched in the middle innings for them. So I would say Franmil Reyes is a guy that he can hit it out basically in any ballpark, anywhere in the big leagues, and he's going to be a key in the middle of this lineup all year long for the Indians, and certainly into the next couple of seasons. I think on the pitching side, a guy to look for is going to be as key to this bullpen as anyone. It's going to be the fireballer, James Karinchak, and he's kind of dubbed Wild Thing here out of the movie Major League in Cleveland. He plays on a razor's edge. He's very emotional. Outwardly, he's got a ton of energy, but he's got triple-digit fastball with a plus 12-6 curveball. Those are his 2 out pitches. He had some video game numbers in the minor leagues in his rocket ascent to the big leagues in a September audition last year. He is going to be tasked with, I believe, the 8th inning duties right out of the chute. And if Brad Hand needs a day off, he's going to be your closer basically in waiting. So I think those are 2 names. And I'll throw a third one, Oscar Mercado, who, as many Cardinal fans know, is a key outfield prospect. He's going to be excited. He's already talked about being able to face his former organization. So those are some guys to keep track of, not only this year, but next year as well.
Jim Price, you mentioned a few when you were telling us about that Tigers team. So if there was one guy that you really wanted to focus on that we'll know the name of by the end of 2021, who will that be?
Well, it's a good question. I think there's a couple of them that you could talk about. I think Turnbull, one of our starting pitchers, has as good a stuff as anybody in the major leagues. A lot of pitchers have to create movement. He has such natural movement, 95 plus fastball. I think he's a name to watch for as far as the pitching go. As far as the hitting goes, I just think there's some kids that can show up. A young man by the name of Castro that has a knack of putting the barrel on the ball a lot. Anytime you can ask anybody who played the game, you get the barrel of the bat on the ball a lot, you're going to get base hits. I think he's a name to watch for also. But I also think that Miggy's going to have a good year. I think the power, of course, will be a little bit shorter than it used to be, but Miggy can still hit. And I think he's still going to be a force in that lineup. And I think he wants to show a lot of people that he's not done at the tender age of, I think he's 36 now, and he's got about 20 more years on his contract. So he wants to make sure that he goes out with a flurry. But I think he's going to be the guy to head this ball club and keep them sharp. I think the locker room is a lot better now with some of the players that they brought in, some of the experienced players with the young kids. So I just think that it's a really tough division. It's going to be tough to compete, but it's going to be a lot of fun because they're going to be a teams in the last 4 or 5 years come in Detroit just know they could win. Well, that's over with. They're going to have to fight to beat the Tigers, I think, this year. And, I'm a homer, which everybody should be a homer, but still, I think it's just a different look. And I look at Rod Gardner, the job that he's done to make this team better, make it more competitive.
Lavelle with that Indians team, a lot of firepower there on the offense. So what are we looking at? Are we going bat for you, or are we going to look at an arm?
Believe it or not, I'm gonna throw a hitter into the discussion here because I don't want to say he came out of nowhere, but he was overlooked because he doesn't hit for power. Luis Arias has hit at every level of the minor leagues that he's been at, but he never was considered a top prospect. But when the Twins needed help at second base during the season, the kid came up and stepped into the lineup and produced right away. He takes excellent at bats. He's actually entertaining to watch, even though he's not a power hitter, because he walks up to the plate looking around the field for holes to exploit. And he takes a borderline pitch for a ball. He shakes his head going, that was not a strike. But his bat-to-ball skills are extraordinary. and he shows the ability to potentially be a hitting champion somewhere in the near future. And he also put up a 399 on base percentage last season. And so Rocco Baldelli has another option to bat leadoff. The leadoff options on this team are ridiculous because Max Kepler did a really good job in that role last year. Arias can lead off, and he actually fired Mitch Garver out against left-handed starters in the leadoff spot. And Garver hit 12 home runs batting leadoff last year. But Arias is entertaining to watch. And one of the things that the people in the organization told me about Luis was that of all the young kids that have come up for the first time in the majors, Luis stepped right into the lineup, stepped right into the clubhouse, and carried himself as a professional quicker and better than any other young player they have seen in recent years. So he's been around professionals, grown up, approach into the majors, and he's a fun kid to watch. And on a team where they have power at nearly every other position, it doesn't hurt to have a guy who's a good contact hitter, who's a good on base percentage guy, and then giving Rocco Baldelli an option at the top of the order.
Darren Jackson, it's so many to choose from that White Sox team with all the young talent that you guys have.
Yeah, everybody is hitting on some important points, but you said one guy. You guys are talking about too many guys. Knock it off. But anyway, back to the point. I'm going to stick with one guy here in our rotation that's really got the potential to supplant anybody at the top of our rotation by the name of Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease came to us from the Cubs in the Quintana trade a couple of years back. He's a high strikeout guy, and he can dominate. Fastball touches 100 miles an hour. He's got to back off of it because he's high in the strike zone when he's throwing 100 miles an hour. And at the big league level, they don't get a lot of chase up there. So he's got to back it off and throw strikes at a higher rate. He's only throwing about 95 with some life on his fastball when he does that. Off the table curveball, a tremendous changeup. The only problem he's had to this point is the fact that his ratio of ball to strike is not real good. If he can command that this year with the help from the catchers of Grandal and McCann, and they can convince him that he doesn't have to overthrow the baseball, this is a guy that can literally dominate any team he faces. You could throw that Minnesota Twins at him. I don't care. They are a powerhouse offensively. There's no doubt about that. But if he's on his game, I don't care who they are. He's going to dominate them with the fastball, the curveball, and the changeup that he features. Now it's just a matter of him getting the experience and believing in himself, and then he's going to dominate.
And then finally, Joel Goldberg. Who does Mike Matheny have that he's going to throw out there that we're going to know the name of?
I feel all this pressure now from DJ that I can only say one name, which is good. I feel like DJ is taking over the role of producer. They always say to me, wrap it up. Come on, let's go here. You're talking too much. So I'll go back to the comment I made about Brady Singer. The Royals have always been they've never been afraid. They could have waited a week in terms of service time and waited to call him up. They also have some injuries and some issues in the rotation that was already thin to begin with. So the timing they felt was right. But, they believed that in 2018, Brady Singer was the number one pitcher in the draft. They took him from maybe Jensen Lewis's second favorite SEC school because Jensen, of course, was a star at Vanderbilt. But, Brady Singer, when you look at that draft for the Royals and when you start talking about the next 2 or 3 years and building a pitching staff, and they need that, they had 5 of the top 58 picks of the draft in 2018 because of the defections of guys like Lorenzo Cain and Eric Hosmer. And so Brady Singer was the guy that they took with the 18th pick. His college teammate at Florida, Jackson Coar, was 33rd. Daniel Lynch, tall, lanky lefty. Oops, Darren, I'm doing it now. I'm mentioning some other names. Daniel Lynch, tall, lanky lefty from Virginia, was the 34th pick. And then Chris Bubich from Stanford and Jonathan Bolin from the University of Memphis. 5 college pitchers, all on the fast track. And as we were talking, guys, here, and this is for a report for Saturday, in the world that we're living in, I had sent an email to Brady Singer's mom just to ask about the excitement, and she said that they're going to go to Cleveland. I don't know that they'll be able to get into the stadium on Saturday, but she said that Mike Matheny told her son, go ahead and call mom and dad and tell them you're starting Saturday in Cleveland. This is 2 years after being drafted. Every one of us have been around to know that those stories and those debuts and what it does for the families are truly, truly life-changing and beautiful moments.
It's our American League Central Roundtable here on ClaibsOnline.com, presented by Ryan Kelley, the home loan expert. Find him online at thehomeloanexpert.com. We're going to take another short break. When we come back, Mike Claiborne will wrap things up with our panel right here on Claibs Online.
From early mornings to late nights, behind the scenes and on the front lines, your neighbors are busy creating a better tomorrow. And we're accelerating progress, from upgrading natural gas mains in Quincy to expanding substation capacity in Mount Vernon. Reliable power communities can depend on. Ameren, Illinois. Energy at work.
Jimmy, what are you doing?
Hey, Danny, I'm celebrating. Baseball's back and mortgage rates are in the twos.
That means you have to go to Ryan Kelley, thehomeloanexpert.com.
And welcome back. Final segment here of our American League Central Roundtable here on ClaibsOnline.com. All of our roundtables this week are presented by Ryan Kelley, the home loan expert. Find him online at thehomeloanexpert.com as we bring our panel back into the picture for one more question from Mike Claiborne.
Well, I'm going to go two quick questions here. Obviously, for us in the National League, the DH is something that's fairly new, and we're going to play with that a little bit. So I'll ask you guys a universal question about the two other rule changes that we're going to see this year. One, the 3-batter minimum, and also with the runner at second in the 10th inning, we're going to see small ball perhaps. So give me your thoughts, Darren Jackson, on those two rules and the impact that they're going to have.
Well, obviously, I think it's something when it comes to the 3-batter rule that we have seen in the past, because when I first got to the big leagues in the 80s, you had 5 guys in the bullpen. All those guys had better been able to face at least 3 batters. That's the way it used to be. So players are bigger and stronger nowadays. They should be able to face 3 batters. I know you've always had the specialty guy, the lefty, that can get one lefty batter out. That's
Not
great.
anymore. Not anymore.
So I'm a big fan of that change. Now, I think it's extreme. I think that could have gone from 1 batter to 2 and then worked up to 3. But okay, it is what it is. Just jump right to 3. So I think the managers and the teams and the players will all eventually get used to that fact. I think it's a good rule. I'm going to enjoy seeing these guys have to stick around a little bit longer. Now, when it comes to the extra innings, I got a quick, really fun story to tell you about that. I knew it was going on in the minor leagues, but we had a spring training game last year against the Cincinnati Reds. Ed Farmer and myself, my partner for a lot of years. We played the 9th inning against the Reds, and all of a sudden they came up to hit. They hit a fly ball to right center field, and Ed Farmer's doing the play-by-play. Goes, "Here's a fly ball to right center field," and makes the play. The runner's tagging from second base into third. He'll go ahead of the throw. And I looked at him. He looked at me, and we went, "What the hell just happened?" We didn't even know there was a runner at second base. We just gone, did we miss something? We're looking at our books. So all you guys know, we go, I'm thinking, I've lost my mind. How do you get to second base? Nobody told us. We're going, what's going on here, man? Eventually, we're looking at each other going, oh, that minor league rule that they've been doing, and we figured it out. But that was life-changing for me. So I'm prepared for anything now. If you want to put a runner out at second base, you're not going to catch me off guard anymore. I'm ready. Bund him over, get him in. Let's go.
There you go. Joel, what about you?
I don't think that's a great rule to have, though. I'm not a big fan of it.
You know what? When DJ talks real quick on this, I do some minor league hockey in the off season and ECHL AA, and I look up, it's overtime, and I'm calling the game on TV, and after like 3 or 4 minutes, there's like 5 minutes left, and I'm like, what? Am I losing my mind here, or what happened? And they didn't tell me they were experimenting with 8 minutes in that league, and so it's sort of the same thing. I was like, what the heck? But here's the thing about, and I think we'll all be in agreement on the 3-batter minimum. I mean, let's find what these guys are talented. If you can't get more than 1 guy out, then find somebody else, in my opinion, and let's keep this game moving. Now, I want to preface this by saying this is not the announcer wants to get out of the stadium and get home or get back to the hotel in normal years. Let's speed things up. But who has ever said during a regular season, boy, I really hope this game goes 15 innings and I can't wait to stay up till 2 a.m. Like, I mean, I'll do it. It's fine. They pay us to talk about baseball. Life is good. And for one of the only guys on this call that didn't play, I'm blessed to be a part of this. But no one ever sits there and says, man, I wish we go more innings. I mean, hockey's figured out how to shorten those overtimes and have a resolution quickly. Football, as much as I don't like the way they do it, they get it done. I'm fine. Don't mess with the postseason. But you know what? Let's make it more interesting. And for those pitchers out there complaining about he's not my run and I shouldn't have to inherit, you mean that you're one of the top pitchers and you can't deal with an inherited run? I think it's actually good for the game.
Jensen, what do you think about the 10th inning and also the fact that we're going to have to be a little bit more creative now?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Hey, as a former reliever in those situations, I'm with Joel. I mean, I'm hoping the manager calls my name in that situation, because that would instill a ton of confidence knowing that you got nobody out and you're charged with being able to strand that guy. I think it will be interesting from a roster construction standpoint early here in the first couple of weeks that you'll probably, as a manager, hold a guy back in case you get into that situation, to know that, all right, you want one of your speedsters out there, that a base hit could basically win the game if you're a home team. I also think it plays into some strategy depending on where you are in the lineup. Do you intentionally walk a guy to set up a double play anywhere? You know, if you're thinking about the Central here, you know, do you walk Francisco Lindor and take your chances with Carlos Santana, something I know the Indians will likely have as the opposition facing them. As far as the 3-batter minimum goes, I retired too early, fellas. I got to come out of retirement. That's how I got to the big leagues, was being able to get righties and lefties out. I'm with Joel on this. The way you get to the big leagues is showing that you have that dominance over both sides of the plate. I think it fundamentally alters the last couple of years of, particularly for the Indians, we're used to Terry Francona matching up left, right with his relief corps. It has, with this layoff, forced guys for the Indians, specifically Adam Simber, Oliver Perez, to really be able to hone their game and get used to those extended pitch counts. But I'll give this to you guys, because I think we'll probably see some managers wait to make those pitching changes with 2 outs so that you're not forced to have those guys maybe be extended out. I think that's something we'll have to kind of watch early on to see where the strategy goes as far as bullpen arms. And there's going to be more of them now being deployed by those various managers.
Lavelle, if you're in Minnesota, do you guys just wait on somebody to take one swing and end it all in the 10th inning? Because you guys have kind of figured that home run thing out.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. But if I'm allowed to for a minute, can I vent my frustration over how Major League Baseball has put us in this situation? It is because of the continuing marginalization of the starting pitcher. The average baseball start is now like 5 1/3 innings. We're using relievers more than ever. And because of that, they're coming into games earlier. There's more relievers used in the game. Managers are run out of arms. They have to keep making roster moves. Okay. Then you got this put the runner at second base move. Well, back in the day, if a guy is pitching in extra innings and throws, if Jensen Lewis throws 2 2/3 innings and does his job, there's a chance in today's baseball that he gets sent down after the game because they need a fresh arm, and he would be demoted for doing his job. And that's because scouting and development are developing pitchers who can't problem solve, who are not allowed to go through the order more than twice, and it's leading to more relievers having been used in games. And that's why we're in a situation where we have to overcorrect by having a 3-minute batter minimum and having a runner at second baseman to keep games from going in the 14th inning, because there have to be 3 roster moves after every game. Okay. Now that I've got that off my chest, I just want to say the extra inning rule is kind of interesting. And the fact that the Twins are considering keeping like a minor leaguer as their 30th roster player who has wheels, so he could be an option to be the person they put at second base to start the 10th inning. Because the Rocco Baldelli believes that once you get to 28, 29, 30 players on the roster, you're going to have duplicate skilled players. There's not going to be a lot of difference between a couple of players. And so you might as well look for someone who maybe has a tool that can help them out some way. So I'm curious to see how the start at second base rule plays out. But sorry for my rant, but I'm just mad that the starting pitcher is becoming less of a emphasis in today.
Jim Price, you played in an era where moving a runner along was accepted and was encouraged. It looks like we're going to see that again if we get to the 10th inning, moving that guy over. Do we have enough guys in the game who know how to do that, know how to give themselves up? Because there was a time where guys were just swinging from the fences no matter what the situation was on the base pass.
Well, I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, the idea of hitting behind the runner, the runner from the second base to third base by going to the right side if you're a right-handed hitter. That's basically a thing of the past. But that's some of the things that Gardner has already worked on with his players in the second spring training. But I won't take up much of the time because I think most of the guys answered my question. My only thought was I like the three, the relievers have to face at least three batters. I like that. The other rule, I just thought, maybe just thinking out loud, maybe in the extra innings you play 2 innings of regular baseball. Then after 2 innings, if nobody scores, then put a runner on second base. I just thought I'd throw that out just as an idea because, there are a lot of rule changes in baseball. I'm old school. How many changes can you make? You don't want to hurt this great game of baseball. But that was just a thought that I had, that maybe you just play 2 innings. If nobody scores, then you put the runner out there because as all the guys know, extra innings sometimes, as Joel mentioned, could become a game by itself. That, you root for anybody to win after the 15th inning, So just a thought.
All right, final question for you guys. 1-word answer. As the Central Division will cross the street, the National will play the American. Give me one team in the National League you're looking forward to seeing. And I'll start off with you, DJ.
St. Louis is the team I want to see, just so I can. I know I'm going to see the Cardinals. I'm going to see some old friends there, so I look forward to St. Louis.
Joel, what about you?
We see you guys every year. That'll continue with the rivalry there. I think it's always fun to see the Cubs, and so I'm looking forward to that.
Jim, I know you want to come back. I know you want to see St. Louis because you want to remind everybody about what happened in '68.
No. Boy, you took the words out of my mouth. We're going to beat them again. I just love it. And they do come into Motown. So I can't wait to see my old buddies there with the Cardinals, and we'll beat them again.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Jensen, what about you? Who are you looking forward to seeing in the National League?
I think it's still too early, guys, here in Cleveland to see the Cubs. 2016 is still fresh. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Reds because, as many of you know, Trevor Bauer, formerly of the Indians, still a lot of great friendships. There's a ton of trash talk. But there's one good thing about no fans this year. If it happens where Mike Clevenger and Trevor Bauer meet up and go head-to-head against each other, keep your eyes and your ears open for both dugouts going back and forth. You'll see it. It's good-natured ribbing, but I'm hoping that matchup's going to materialize.
Lavelle, what about you? Who are you looking forward to seeing in the National League Central?
Well, Cincinnati had a really good offseason and upgraded their roster significantly. And definitely have Bauer there. But I want to see the Cardinals. I've never seen Jack Flaherty pitch in person before, and I like to see that. Colton Wong actually was drafted out of high school by the Twins, but he declined to sign before going on to college. And I've only been in the new Busch Stadium twice ever. That was when the Twins were there back in like 8-9 years ago, and then for the All-Star game. So I wouldn't mind getting back to St. Louis and seeing the Cardinals and seeing how they continue to compete because it looks like Mozeliak does a great job of keeping them competitive.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. Gentlemen, we only have 60 games this year. Some of us will play longer, we hope. But more importantly, I wish all of you guys great success, good health more than anything else. And I want to thank you for being part of this. It's been a blast to see some faces I just don't see enough. And the way this schedule shakes out and the way the league shakes out, we may not cross paths like we normally would. But next year, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody for sure.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks,
Clay.
My pleasure.
DJ, I'll wave to you from 6 feet away tomorrow at commission.
Well,
Social distancing here is what we're going to be all about. For our panel and for Joe Roderick, we want to thank everybody for watching right here on ClaysOnline.com.